Do you think the way someone looks is purely based on genetics? Well, then maybe you should think again. The truth is that genetics set the boundary for the way you look. Your potential, you could think of it as. But your face shape is largely influenced by another very important factor, your tongue posture. Recently, the internet has been gaining a lot more exposure to the term mewing, which was popularized by orthodontist Mike Mew, who started orthotropics based on the tropic premise by his father, Dr. John Mew, which summarized is that your tongue's position and function in your mouth influence the growth and development of your facial bones and teeth. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ryan, and I was affected by mouth breathing and poor tongue posture growing up. So I started this YouTube channel, Best Face Forward, with a holistic dentist who has a lot of expertise in this area in order to spread awareness about the methods and ways to improve your tongue posture. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about mewing. So this series I'm going to be doing is Mewing for Beginners. This is the first part of the series, which is going to be explaining how mewing works and how your tongue posture affects your facial growth. So let's dive right into that. So mewing really is about how your tongue influences the way your face grows and how you look. And it's based on the tropic premise that the position and force of the tongue in your mouth has an impact on the way the facial bones grow and develop. This is because the tongue sits in the mouth in its ideal position on the upper palate, which is also the roof of the mouth, in between all of the teeth. This upper palate also happens to be the floor of the most important facial bone for this topic, the maxilla. When the tongue is functioning well, it is fully engaged on the upper palate, from the front all the way to the back, holding the teeth and everything in place. The tongue is very long though, and much longer than you may think. So if this entire tongue is engaged, every time we swallow, speak, chew, it has an impact. Every time we swallow, it firmly presses on the upper palate. So this resting force and swallow repeated hundreds of times per day over a lifetime will definitely impact and change the way your face grows and develops, because it will influence the shape and position of this maxilla bone. When the tongue leaves its ideal position on the roof of the mouth, what happens is the upper arch is not supported, so it will begin to narrow and there will be less space for the teeth, which will become crooked. This is what orthodontists call malocclusion. So if you look at our recent ancestors, our hunter-gatherers about 10,000 years ago, and you look at their skulls, you can see that all of them had generally straight teeth with their wisdom teeth or third molars still intact. So Richard Klein, who's a top evolutionist from Stanford University, said that he's never seen an ancient skull with crooked teeth. So this is coming from a book called Jaws, which I read, which I highly recommend that you guys check out. I'll put it in the link in the description. They also talk about a culture called the Amarna culture in ancient Egypt, which is 3,000 years ago, so a little bit more recent for the skeptics out there. And looking at those skulls, what they saw is that most people did not have malocclusions in Amarna, and in America, a lot of people did have malocclusions. Mike Mew also says in this book that 95% of modern humans have deviations in their dental alignment, and 30+% are recommended to have orthodontic treatment, 50% of them having wisdom teeth removed. Worse than crooked teeth is that the maxilla will begin to fall down and back as it's not supported, leading to a recessed profile and the jaw swinging down and back as well, leading to a longer face. The maxilla and mandible will fall back and down, but also the maxilla will become more narrow, leading to less space for the tongue and creating a kind of vicious cycle, where the less space there is for the tongue, the worse the tongue will function, and then the less space even more there will be for the tongue. So how does this affect the way you look? When the maxilla falls down and back, it causes your midface to essentially look kind of sunken in. This will lead to tired looking eyes, a nose that appears larger than it is, a generally weak upper lip from incompetency, and a gummy smile, but most noticeably is a weaker looking jaw, which is unattractive for both men and women. So the jaw will become more narrow, but also those jaw muscles will become more weak. This is because the jaw muscles are not being used properly at rest because the force of the tongue is not opposing those jaw muscles. It's also because we don't chew as nearly as tough foods as we used to. If you look at anyone you consider to be good looking and you think it's only because of genetics, again, remember, they have very good tongue posture as well. But really, our faces and tongues are meant to function a certain way, and these people just never had anything preventing them from having proper oral posture, so their faces and jaws grew in a healthy, favorable way. However, the entire body is related, so honestly it goes much deeper than just appearance. When the upper palate narrows, there's less space for the tongue. And since the tongue has nowhere to go, it's forced to fall back into the airway, which makes it even more difficult to breathe through the nose. It also affects the posture because the tongue muscles also control neck flexion. So tongue function is associated with forward head posture as well. So this all sounds very doom and gloom, right? But the good news is something can be done about it. So proper tongue posture and the idea of this stuff has actually been around for a long time. Fields like orofacial myology, myofunctional therapy, speech therapy have for a long time been training children to re-educate the muscles of their tongue and face to function properly. What Mike Mew has done is he's raised awareness about improving your resting tongue posture, how that can have an effect on your face. And it's something that you can do by yourself. And many people have. There are a lot of great results that we've seen from people using this all over the internet. So there you have it. If you're new to mewing, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned and subscribe for the next parts in this series I'm going to be doing, which is going to be what proper tongue posture is and how you can achieve it. You can download our free tongue posture guide, which is going to give you the basics on what you need to do. But until next time, we'll see you in the next video. Put your best face forward.